Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. First of all, I am sorry for the delay. I am really into triathlons, and it is triathlon season. Therefore, I am doing a lot of training for these races. But anyway, here is another video, and in this particular, oh, I forgot. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And this video is all about the Earth and the relationship with the moon. And what I mean by that is, you might not be able to tell, but the moon does have an effect on the Earth. One of the most profound effects is the effect that the moon has on the water. High tides, low tides, all that is due to the moon's gravitational effect on the Earth. Its gravity pulls at the Earth, and in fact, it pulls the water, which creates high tides. And when that effect lessens, you get low tides. Those are very important. And in this particular video, I'm going to see what happens, because this is an Astronomy What If. See what happens if the Earth has multiple moons. Not some crazy experiment in which I'll create thousands of moons, or I'll start putting the moons into the Earth. No, I'm going to try to create a moon system like the outer planets: Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, even Pluto. Mars has too, but they're so small, and Mars is pretty much a dead world at that. Yeah. But I'm going to try to give the Earth multiple moons. And to make it seem more accurate of a what if, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the first moon at around the distance that is orbiting the Earth currently. And then I am going to have the next moon be the same distance from that moon. So you can see the first moon is the appropriate distance. The second moon will be the appropriate distance from the first moon. And then the third moon will be the appropriate distance from the second moon. And if you heard a noise in the background, if you haven't seen my videos before, I do have cats, and cats like to play with stuff. So if you heard a noise, it was from my cat. If you didn't hear a noise, then I apologize. But just so you know, I have cats. Anyway, you can see me placing all the moons at the appropriate distance. And then what I'm going to do is put them all in motion. Because if you understand, if you put the moon too close to the Earth, what's going to happen is that the Earth's gravitational field will take over. It will pull the moon into the Earth, and then it will break up. It's not going to go into the Earth. It's not going to collide with the Earth. The Earth's gravitational field is strong enough that it'll just break up the moon, and it'll create a ring system. But because the moon would have gotten so close to the Earth, its gravitational field would have had an effect on the Earth and pretty much make life miserable for everybody. But we're not doing that. We're just going to set the moons, 3 moons, at the appropriate distance, get them to orbit the Earth, and then see what type of effect it will have on the Earth, which is what I'm doing now. As you can probably guess, it might not be, all 3 of these moons might not have a cumulative effect on the Earth, because the further you get out, the less of an effect it is. And the moon, even though relatively speaking is a decent sized object, it's not a planet. And therefore, and remember, gravitational fields are proportional to mass. The more heavier an object, the larger the gravitational field. And the moon is a decent size, but it's not a planet. Okay, so now we put everything into motion. And what I'm really checking for is Earth is orbiting the sun. First, I'm seeing if these are caught in the gravitational field. Okay. Okay. So the first step is, well, it wasn't the distance. Pretty much is larger for the moons to be orbiting the Earth, but that still doesn't mean it won't have an effect on the Earth. So that is what I'm checking now, and it looks like everything is still fine. The elevation really doesn't matter. Gas pressure is still fine, but what you're seeing in the one below in terms of liquid depth is the tides. So obviously, even though those moons aren't orbiting the Earth, they are close enough that they're having an effect on the tides. Because again, gravity has an effect on Earth tides. And what's happening is that moments will be somewhat dry, and other moments we will have extreme high tides. That's pretty much what's going on when you start to add moon size, at least according to Universal Sandbox, when you add moon sized objects in the proximity of the Earth. And I would like to make a mistake. I mean, not a mistake. I would like to correct a mistake. I didn't place 3 moons. It looks like I placed 4, and therefore, in the proximity of the Earth, not only did you have moons in the beginning having an effect on the Earth, you also had 2 additional ones, and 2 times the gravity would pretty much mess things up. This is just another point of how everything had to go right in order for life as we know it to survive on the Earth. A lot of things had to go right. The sun had to be the perfect type of star. The Earth had to be the perfect type of distance. The moon had to be in the perfect location. Too far, too close. It would mess a lot of things up. And all of this just shows that when you place multiple moons around the Earth, what's happening is that some of the moons will not be caught in the Earth's gravitational field, but some will. And if it's more than one moon, that would create some problems. Every couple of, just like high tides and low tides, it will be extreme high tides, and that is not a good thing. During the day or during some hours, everything is, well, wouldn't be dry. It would be, you can walk around. Second couple more hours, like high and low tides, it'll be flooded everywhere, and nothing we can do. Add to all the weather that we would have on the Earth. Therefore, all I want to be able to say in this what if is that, just like a video I did with multiple stars in the sky in the solar system, multiple moons around the Earth would create a whole lot of problems. And it just goes to show that a lot of things had to go right for us to be here. if you're wondering what I'm doing now, I'm really just trying to figure out or trying to see if there's anything else visually on the planet that's different, or is it just showing up in the status screens. Really just trying to make sure, is there anything if I speed things up, what visually more I can see. But it seems as though that it's only a certain number of objects. Well, not really. I'm really just trying to see, is there anything as I add more moons, what happens to the Earth over time? Will all of them stay within the orbit as it starts going around the sun? Or is it that over time the pull of the sun would take some of the moons that I place in orbit around the Earth away from it? And it looks as though that over time, and we talking about, I did pretty in a couple of years. The moons that I tried to place in orbit around the Earth would be pulled away from the Earth, and it would end up orbiting the sun, which is pretty interesting. Now again, this is a universal sandbox, so we can't guarantee that will be the case. This is just a simulation. But overall, this is an interesting what if. Again, a lot of things have to go right in order for us to be here. Anything that has that imbalance would cause a lot of problems for us here on Earth. Therefore, I hope you enjoyed this what if, as I will eventually end up doing. I like to keep all the planets happy and satisfied, and therefore I will revert things back to the perfectly balanced solar system. And I will see you again.